So you might be wondering why there are so many characters in this art and why it's so colorful and blinding, and well, I'm over here a year later to explain exactly how and why I spent over 200 hours making this 40 character illustration for my Realm of the Mad God Guild, X Guild, and why I'm not that happy with the end result anymore, but now it's on people's walls, so yay! It all started when one day I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun if I drew all 50 or so members in my video game guild? It was late in the summer, so I had a lot of free time before school started up again, so I brought it up to some of my friends and the officers in the guild, and it was in the air for a bit until we decided to just commit and create a group chat and finally start planning. I was ready, but also definitely not ready, but I was excited and ready to commit. I thought it was going to be the best thing I would ever make. We drafted up an announcement message together and finally sent it out onto the guild Discord. We sent a Google form to everyone, allowing them to submit what characters they wanted to be portrayed as, whether it was a class or a skin in the game or a character from a show, other game, or whatever this thing is. They could choose who they wanted to be next to and what they were holding, what they were doing. I wanted everyone to have freedom and most accurately represent themselves. I compiled all of the visual references for the characters and props onto PureRef, blessed this application, which allowed me to keep track of who was who and what I needed to draw. There ended up being a lot of references and it looks so messy now that I look back on it, but it was what worked for me at the time. The process of illustrating the banner would be split up into several phases: the thumbnailing phase, the character sketching phase, coloring and lighting, rendering, and post-processing, or finalizing. With ideas fresh in my head from our guildmates and from our common shared game Realm of the Mad God, I jumped right into sketching thumbnails and ideas for the composition and delivered them about a week after the form was announced. The first sketch was inspired by the Moonlight Village dungeon from Realm of the Mad God, a very popular and difficult dungeon that is widely enjoyed. And yes, the characters are just stickmen for now. The second sketch was inspired by a combination of the Twilight Princess Zelda game, the game our guild was inspired by, and Moonlight Village. The third sketch is a typical golden ratio composition with us all standing together and our mascot in the background. This one is my personal favorite today, just because I think the composition works the best with the number of characters and the colors are pretty. And last sketch, having a crazier perspective, combining the Moonlight Village dungeon on the left and the Shatters dungeon from the game on the right. The thumbnails were posted with a little message and blurb about each one, and the guild would all vote on which one to continue with. There was majority on the first, so we continued with Moonlight Village. Now this was the easiest part of the process. It was all sunshine and rainbows. It all got so much harder from here. I came back in about 1.5 weeks with sketches of everybody's characters and the background a little bit more refined. And you might be wondering, how the heck did I go from stickmen to full-on characters? Well, I started with refining the overall background of the composition first before I tackled all the characters, just so I made sure they had solid ground they were standing on, and then roughly silhouetted the characters as these blobby shapes to test out different comps. Three weeks later, I shared the next stage of the piece, which was the colors and lighting. Now, what happened in those 3 weeks? A lot more critique. I don't actually remember much of what happened, but this was probably one of the most essential parts of the process that I couldn't have and shouldn't have screwed up. I even asked one of my favorite artists, legendary splash artist Bo Chen at Lightbox, to take a look at the piece and critique it. And he said that everything in the piece was fighting for too much attention, which I agreed with but couldn't really fix at this point. So I did the best I could, taking in all the feedback I collected, and moved on to the rendering phase, which was one of the more relaxing phases, and much needed after all the constant tweaking I did before it. But I didn't send the next update until 3 months later, because of school. And as much as I wanted to work on the piece during, which I did a little bit, I wouldn't be able to finish because, well, my school is pretty much known for working its art students until their hands fall off. Maybe I would render a bit here and there, but I had to hold it off until winter break came around. I was so busy and absent during the fall that I got a few curious DMs asking for updates, but it was definitely understandable. When winter break came around, I finally sent an update. And only half the characters were rendered, so I made it my goal to use my month-long winter break and finish the entire piece before my next semester rolled around, so I wouldn't drown in work. And again, I don't remember much of what happened, but I can tell you that I just wanted to get this piece done. I'm pretty sure I didn't really work on much other art during that winter break. Yeah, I drew a couple sketches, maybe 1 or 2 roughly painted pieces, but towards the end of it, I was kind of over it. A month later, right before I flew back to California to start my semester, I finally sent an update that I still didn't finish, and it was 90% done because as much as I tried to finish before the deadline I set for myself, I just couldn't. So I told everyone I would finish in the next week. And in the next week, boom, it was finally done. And holy crap, I was so happy to finally get this thing off my plate because it's been rotting on it for like 5 months, but it's finally done, and I was so happy to deliver it to everyone. Immediately after, everyone was so sweet in the chat and appreciative, and there was even like a donation war, which was like the craziest thing to ever happen and the best thing, and it just made me so happy and grateful to see everyone come together and also be happy and grateful. And yeah, it was just very wholesome. I gave the file to everyone so they could get their own prints. I got my own print. It actually looks pretty great on a print, but man, I really wish I toned down the effects and the saturation, because oh my gosh, my eyes every time I look at it now. Honestly, all of the support and kind words, and money I got from everyone was super amazing, and the much needed encouragement to finally get me to finish the dang thing. And in the end, I'm so glad our guild, Twilight Princess of Realm of the Mad God, could finally be immortalized, even after it pretty much exploded. It was a great piece to learn from, and a great reminder of all the amazing times we had together playing games, and also a valuable lesson that making and sharing art is a great way to bring people together and just make people happy, which is part of why I do it. If you want to take a look at the full piece, it's still on my website, ArtStation, and Instagram if you scroll really far down. And I'll probably take it off some of the websites soon since I don't think the piece is the best now and it's kind of old. But if you want to support me or stay updated with what new kinds of art I make now, you should subscribe and join my Discord, especially if you also do art, because I love talking to other artists and looking at art. And also, big thank you to the GOAT, Itty, for helping me edit this video and for being such a cool guild leader. He was the guild leader, guys. Oh my gosh, go check out his Realm of the Mad God videos. you should definitely subscribe to both of us. So this was my first voiceover video. It was kind of fun to make, but also a lot more work than I thought. So if this does well, and if I feel like it, maybe I'll make more in the future. We'll see. So I'll see you until then.